Yo, what's happening, legends? Thank you so much for joining me here today. We got another big show. Of course, guys, we are kicking off this trading challenge that I've been talking about for the last couple of days. On the last show we did on Monday, we kicked off a trade. It did very well. We closed at break even, but it did very well after the stream. So that was a good one for anyone that did hold on. It was really not like a high conviction trade, but it was just kind of getting the juices flowing and getting into the market. I appreciate every single one of you guys being able to join. As we know, a very small community starting to build it from the ground up. Banter Bubbly in the house, Anu in the house, and obviously all the rest of the legends. So I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure that you're flooding the chat, talking your shit, answering the poll, or commenting on my ridiculous thumbnail. It's quite embarrassing, but I don't know. I think it kind of matches the style of the show. As you guys know, just a quick get through of all the formalities. Number one priority for me, guys, let's get some subscribers going. What we're doing now is we're doing a live trading challenge. Hopefully we can grind the account up from $100 to whatever. And then on these little targeted bases, so from 100 to 500, we'll give away $100 of that 500 that we've earned. When we go from 500 to 1,000, we'll give away $200. When we go from 1,000 to 2,000, $300, and just continuously reward the subscribers for sticking alongside. And if you lost trade during the thing, hopefully, you are one of the giveaway winners, and you get to make some money from that. What's happening, guys? Albert's in the house. What's happening, my friend? Yard Tackle. And Testament, I appreciate you guys being here. It is an interesting day to trade. That's really what the main focus of today's show is going to be. I'm not going to dive too much into the news. I am not going to dive too much into Donald Trump's whopping $1.2 billion extraction from crypto. I will say, though, I think that it kind of adjusts, or I'm trying to think of the right word here, but it makes me reanalyze how bullish the United States really was on crypto, or if it was just like, that they had been so invested and they were obviously just trying to push this narrative to extract as much capital out, and maybe no real moves were ever being made. Of course, as we saw with the Clarity Act dropping to like 12% yesterday in terms of the likelihood of being approved this year, that kind of aligns more with the 4-year cycle. Obviously not seeing anything or any significant factors start to drive up the price of the market. That comes in next year, post the bottom according to that 4-year cycle. Should be good to go. Famously not too bullish on the Clarity Act. I think it's a little bit blown out proportion. I understand it gives a lot stronger regulatory framework. It's a lot bigger of a boost for that, but I do think that some of the more exciting things for crypto have already happened. The one thing I'd be looking out for is a potential strategic reserve along the way. But now, whilst we're looking at how much money's been extracted by the current administration, you kind of go, okay, cool. Well, is a strategic reserve even on the table anymore, right? Was it just this hype behind the thing that they could make as much money as possible? It's a little bit dirty. Someone says Solana grinding up on Ansem. I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know if I'd make that correlation there. For those of you guys who are unaware, Ansem is you guys are obviously aware of that, who he is. He's a Twitter content creator, trader / person, and he launched like the first creator meme token that's been launched in a while. The first thing to, run up post $100 million. It's driven like a lot of volume, but it's like really nothing. Right? Obviously, it's exciting based on the current state of the so-called trenches, but in general, the volume is not enough to really validate a significant strength in Solana, right? Solana has been up. Maybe the correlation's there. Maybe it's just bringing a little bit of attention to it, but I think there's a lot of things in the news that have been happening for Solana on chain and partnerships and all of that stuff that could have just kept that bullish narrative going, but, who are we to know? If it is that reason, well, then don't expect Solana's price action to maintain, because obviously that token will go to zero alongside any meme token that's ever launched, right? They will inevitably end up going to zero. It's just a little dirty extraction this late into the bear cycle, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it's perfect timing. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you being here. Before we get into any live trading or anything of that nature, make sure that you're subscribing. Right, I want to get us to 200 subscribers. As I said, we're doing live trading, grinding up the account, and we're going to start giving away every so many increments of money that we make. And if we get to $10,000 from the account, it's a but optimistic, right? To grind from $100 to $10,000 in a short amount of time, but I'm sure we could do it with a little bit of luck on our side. We'll give away like half of it, right? We'll give away most of it. Kind of take that money back and throw it into the community, especially the guys who are early. And obviously, all your comments and everything like that at the end of the show, the likes on the show, those are the things I can go back to really identify the core OG audience of Charts Are Dumb. And yeah, obviously, you guys will kind of take a lot, but over the years and over the months and whatnot, we'll do a lot of giveaways and stuff, and really just giving back to the community for being early supporters of this mission, right? It's a brand new channel, it's a brand new brand in general, and these shows aren't traditional. We're not going to be doing news-based shows. We're really just going to be diving into the market and finding opportunities, really kicking it back to a raw trading perspective. Now, if you guys are following me on Twitter, which I'm assuming most of you guys are, just given that that's where a lot of the traffic comes from, or all of the traffic comes from, on Twitter, I've been posting like these little threads every single day. It's just, helpful nuggets to take on a daily basis. Today's one in particular, I wanted to kind of brush over quickly. If you guys will indulge me for a second. It's a little bit of yammering for the most part, but I think that the core message in that, I'm getting better at these threads. It's not really my strong suit. I'm writing them out, cleaning them up with AI, but kind of me, still me at its essence. But basically, guys, there's just a little tip for those of you guys who are trading and maybe finding a little bit of issues in trading and in your own success at it. But it's kind of like separating these two factors in trading that limit us from growing. A lot of us think it's a skill issue, which is almost never the case. Okay, I know that people try to convince you that you need to study charts, and the guy who's been trading for 10 years has learned charts in a different way and how to. It's not true, right? This is just course selling mechanics, and if you follow this course, I'll teach you everything you need to know that I've learned over 10 years. Learning to analyze a chart is a very, very easy part of learning how to trade, and that's what the core of this post is about. It's about separating the two fundamentals, right? The skill is really about 20% of what it takes to be a successful trader, and the vast majority, being that 80%, is really around the patience and the mental fortitude. Word of the day, fortitude, around trading, right? And identifying where your issues are, and what's holding you back. And it's 90% of the time just a mental problem, right? It can be greed, your faith in the chart, your emotions towards a chart, anything like that, guys. In essence, what I'm trying to get to is one of the cool features of this is building yourself a demon finder. Demon finder sounds a lot scarier than it is, but it's effectively writing down the mistakes that you tend to make a lot. Very basic, more from a fundamental side of things, like you didn't put in a stop loss or you entered the trade too early. This is not necessarily when a trade goes wrong or you lose money in a trade, but more around when a trade doesn't play out exactly as intended. You didn't take profit in time, you overtraded, it wasn't a revenge trade that you took. And then every single time you make these mistakes, you want to check off the box. Number one, I made it one time. Okay, cool. Over a couple week period, and as you trade more and more and identify these, you start to hone in on the exact issues that's getting you, and you know exactly where to focus on. If it's because you overtrade and you tend to trade too much, or because you're trading emotionally, or you didn't take profit in time, or you closed your trade too early, or you copied an influencer, right? You want to start kind of honing into what these issues are and start to eliminate them one by one. You'll learn how to chart, you'll watch these shows, you'll learn indicators, and you'll have some fun doing so. But this, for the most part, I think is a very, very important thing. So I wanted to start off the show by addressing it, just saying, because a lot of people actually ask me how this works, what are the numbers, and maybe I didn't give the best explanation for it, and I probably didn't. But in essence, this is what you want to build for yourself and really take that step, right? Really put in that extra, literally 30 seconds after every single trade and really try to identify what is holding you back. Someone says, I'm profitable since I trade Bitcoin only. I think for the most part, trading on these streams is going to be more surrounded or more focused on Bitcoin, right? I think just from a liquidity standpoint, following repetitive strategies, which is what yesterday's tweet was about, and how we're going to be, we're going to be basically using one strategy, right? I'm not going to overcomplicate the system. I want to show you how taking a systematic approach to your trading is really going to help. And that strategy is very, very simple. Okay. It's where we tie in a volume profile, which is these blue lines over here, right? And we tie that in, or we identify that correlation with a break of range, right? With a liquidity sweep. So an example right here, right? There's your liquidity level right there. It breaks. We wait for the retracement into the volume POC, which is this section here, evidently, and that leads to the pullback towards the downside, right? Very, very consistent trading strategy. It does come with a little bit of patience. At times, it doesn't work perfectly, but it's just actually about identifying in that period of time what we need to do, right? So we're going to find a lot of success with this one. I'm fairly confident about it. Here's another example, right? Breaks the range high, breaks that liquidity level right there, retraces perfectly into the POC, and that's obviously where you see the next leg of Solana. In that case, because we're on a 15-minute chart, that ended up being a 7.85% return. We look a little bit higher up in the chart, we see something very similar, right? We break the high liquidity of 20.28 million, come back down, retrace perfectly into this level right here, as you guys can see, and then continue that motion towards the upside. In that case, 6%, right? That would just be a compound train for you. Solana has been a little bit of a stronger player, so towards the downside may not have been the best play. In a ranging formation, it's really, really profitable. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on in terms of this. And we're going to really try to bring or find a successful account growth in really limited to one or two strategies, right? For the most part, I'm going to start off with this one. We're going to see how it goes, see if we can find any value in it, any success. And if we don't, we'll make some small adjustments and really approach it. I've been using this strategy automated, and it's done fantastic, right? And I did share this with you guys on Twitter yesterday. For those of you guys who want to add it to your own charts, you have to do it slightly differently because I've built my own custom platform. But all you need here is you need the liquidity swings indicator by Lux Algo. You go indicators, liquidity swings, Lux Algo. You add the number one option here with 34.8. Leave the settings as is. I think the default is correct, but you can go back in this video, which is the beauty of YouTube, and you can go pivot look back 14. This doesn't matter, and everything else like that. Okay, cool. And then on your chart, you'll see it start to draw out these liquidity highs and lows for you. Okay, you're looking for breaks of those structures. So in this example here, that was the high, that was the break of that structure before the retracement, followed by the bigger move towards the upside. I'll teach you guys how to use it. It actually works much better in a lower time frame, surprisingly, and doesn't really have that much success on a market open state, right? Due to the volatility and the low liquidity in crypto, you may tend to have a little bit more problems trying to trade it into market open. But the rest of the 23 hours of the day, which is why we trade Bitcoin, there's some really, really amazing opportunities. And from a risk to reward perspective, which I'll show you in just a second, also fantastic, right? Generally speaking, above a 2-to-1, a 2R trade, which means your realized profit potential is 2 times larger than your risk, right? Which means you really only have to win 50% of your trades to remain a profitable trader, which is amazing, right? And the win rate's probably, I think, on the bot account, it's a bit skewed because of all the adjustments that I've made to the strategy over time. But I think over the last week, it's been like 65%, which is awesome, right? Like really, really upper class strategy and extremely simple. Cool. So yeah, the next thing you want to tie in obviously is your volume profile, right? So we're looking for the range prior to the breakout. So we're going to use a fixed range volume profile, which is your 5th drawing option here. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Coming to the bottom here, we're looking for the fixed range volume profile. Once I select that, if I'm looking for this as a liquidity break, I take that range to there. And obviously in this example, you'll see we break the structure towards the downside, retrace perfectly into that zone, and execute the short position, right? You notice how this range, we can probably extend it a little bit and we'll see the same. No, sorry, it's grabbing these candles at the bottom side here. If we extend it, right, you'll see how that becomes this POC, which is the black line on TradingView. You'll notice how it becomes the retracement point for the chart prior to that massive move towards the downside. Now, last week, we did something very similar, a little bit different structure, 15-minute time frame. But what we did was we placed it over here, and that's when we found that massive 4% move, filled out the fair value gap on this side, and I'll teach you guys about that as well today. and that became our target, which ended up being a fantastic trade, our first trade on the account. But now we're really going to start honing in and really turn it into that challenge. So guys, I'm going to start a Telegram group where you guys can really ask me all the questions that you want. I'm reading the comments of the YouTube channel, so if I take a trade on stream and I don't end up closing it on stream, I'll let you guys know in the YouTube comments that I've closed the position, so keep checking. And that's obviously if you've copied the trade. And then also at the same time, feel free to ask any questions whatsoever. I'll take fucking 40 minutes to answer you, right? I'll take an hour to answer you if I have to, and if it helps you understand better. And then obviously in the YouTube chat itself. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, please subscribe. Let's build this account. I want to try and get to 1,000. Then we're going to do a nice giveaway for everyone. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Johnny Gummy says, what's up to all the legends? I appreciate you being here, my friend. Free Will makes it for the 3rd show in a row. How do you add the volume profile? Okay, cool. I did go through that. And then awesome. So that's the strategy that we're going to be using. We're going to be having some fun with it. Occasionally we will tie in the fair value gaps, right? I read fair value gaps pretty naturally, but the fair value gaps is this here, which kind of highlights these gaps in liquidity, right? It's a sporadic move in the market, which creates an inefficiency in the order book. Very big words. I know it maybe seems a bit complicated, but basically it's where you see these full-bodied candles right here that haven't been filled from a liquidity perspective. It's a gap in the market. So in essence, right, looking at these liquidity gaps, generally speaking, they get filled quite consistently, and they're very fantastic targets for you as a trader, right? When we look at something like that, this little break of here, not only did we retest into the volume POC, but we also came back to test this little fair value gap point over here. In this example as well, there is a slight gap here. Now, certain fair value gaps don't necessarily need to be filled completely, right? But in this case over here, we do have a little bit of liquidity gaps here. So we will be looking for that to be filled towards the downside. Noticing as well, according to our indicator, we have a liquidity swing level at the bottom side here, right? So we have a low liquidity level. We'll also be looking for that fair value gap to break the structure down here and potentially retrace back into about 74.6 before looking to ride that asset back down towards these lower regions of horizontal support, right? We're looking from a target perspective, that trade would inevitably end up looking something like that. We target the high, which is about 1.3, and we're looking for this low over here, which is about a 2.6% risk to reward. That basically happens when the chart does this, right? We break the structure right there, come back and fill this gap, look for the retracement point here. This can really go as low as it wants to. It's not that important, but we're looking for this point here, which is these high POC spots here for the volume profiles, right? When we take the whole range, it will just combine these into one point of about 74.75. And we'll look to short that position down, stop loss above the previous liquidity high, right? If we start to break that liquidity structure, then we could expect a potential shift towards that direction. So we'll look to build our position within this and try to get a nice, decent entry at about 74.8. Now, for me, this is obviously in a 15-minute chart, so that's likely to happen tomorrow, maybe early morning tomorrow from my time. For US time, perfect time, a little bit later tonight, so keep an eye on that. If we do get that structural break towards the downside, that's the type of trade that you're going to be looking for. Obviously, I'm now forward looking, which is always a dangerous thing to do, as I don't know what's going to drive the market at that point in time. We could get a very sporadic move, news coming out, anything of that nature. So I don't necessarily plan for this. But in the event that we do get a perfect breaker structure like that and retracement into the zone, then that's something that, at least from my bot's perspective, based on the strategy, it will look to execute like that, right? So that's how that works. Yesterday, if you stick around to the end of the show, I'll do like 5 minutes talking about the zigzag formation and how you can find strategies for yourself. I found this. I take a hyper complex approach to building strategies, and that's where I use something called machine learning, which is a very, very classic computer-based analysis, right? A lot of AI models are built on top of machine learning, but it actually originates from like the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just this computer learning framework that basically studies the formations of the chart and really just prints out this raw data and gives me it identifies things on a computer-based way, right? And a lot of people don't know how to do that from a computer-based perspective, right? From a coding, raw analytic perspective. But I found this way to find these strategies in a lot simpler of a way for you guys. So I'll teach you guys that at the end of the show. I'll do a quick run through. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's very, very worth it. This strategy, for example, is one that I actually had found in that endeavor, right? Doing it that way by manually using the zigzag formation, which is this indicator right here. And it's also available on TradingView. Cool. It does look like Solana does want to make that next push towards the upside. We have been seeing a sideways consolidation for Solana over the last couple of hours, right? So to speak, we had this little flag formation coming up here, now attempting the next high. I'd like to see this liquidity being pushed out. We do see from a candlestick formation, we do have a lot of buy side momentum coming in here. Obviously dipping below the range again, pushing straight back up. That buy pressure, markets did just open 7 minutes ago, so we got to take everything with a grain of salt. Basically just setting out that volume, just setting out that market open range now. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of hours. Maybe there's a trade set up there for Solana, and I'll give you guys that at the end of the show in closing what we'll do. Yo, what's up, Chesm? You're not late at all, my friend. We're just about to get into the live trading pod. Guys, before I do, as you guys know, please understand we're copying based on a very, very simple framework, but it has a lot of risk just like any other trading strategy. I just want to kind of set the basic things. This is a regulated space. It's not like my little degenerate Telegram group. Just obviously understand that nothing I tell you is for financial advice. It's really just education and hopefully a little bit of entertainment, right? That's for you guys to decide. From my side, I'm just doing it for that purpose. And then in closing, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're helping us get to that 200 to 300 to 400 to 500 subscribers. Yes, looking at the numbers now, which is very, very much unlike me, but we are. And yeah, on the outside of that, tomorrow the Friday, we're going to launch an Instagram channel for Charts Are Dumb. You can follow that at Charts Are Dumb. Very, very straightforward. And it's basically just going to be shorts that come out every single day for trading strategies. And it's going to be done by like the AI Josh, right? So the Josh that's in the bottom left here. And that's just going to be a lead generator for the YouTube channel and kind of building out this community, which will eventually help us build out products and really help everything that we want to do with the Charts Are Dumb, right? The reason why I'm pushing it, just so you guys are on the same page, you don't feel like you're getting ripped off. The reason why I'm pushing subscribers, likes, and engagement and all that extremely, extremely cringe things to me as well, is so that we can grow the community, grow the viewership, bring on sponsors, and then fund projects, right? Everything that the community ever does will always be free. I'll never promote a sponsor that requires money from you guys. I will never create a product that requires money. I'll never create a trading group that requires money from you guys. But I want to get sponsors to fund the projects that I develop. For those of you guys who aren't very much in that space, it can cost thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe $20,000. For some of the projects that I've built in the past, cost like $22,000 a month in server costs, in developers, and all that stuff. So I'd rather not pay for that. I'd rather get some exchange to pay for that, and then we just trade on the same exchange and have some fun, and give them a little 1 minute shout out or 2 minute shout out per show. But yeah, just understand it's for a good, noble cause. I'm not taking money from you guys. I'm just trying to get the engagement up so we can start bringing that on. I want you guys to be part of the mission behind that as well, so it doesn't annoy you as much every time I tell you guys to like and subscribe. But yeah, Solana kind of fighting with this range high point here. We do have another level coming in at 75.8. We'll give that time to settle, see if we can find anything a little bit later. Ethereum as well pushing up a little bit. Ethereum did have a big break of structure over here, came back down to retest this little volume range over here. Could potentially see that squeeze towards the upside. We do have some fair value gaps on the way up here, which is quite interesting. Another big one towards the upside, 16.1. From a market bottom perspective, not bottom, but from a market perspective, where we are in the charts, really, really strong support that we're finding here. We saw a little deviation coming in a little bit earlier today. Acceptance back above the range low here on this lower time frame here. We swept, came back in, retested the point, and now we're looking for a little bit of momentum behind that Bitcoin move, which I'm excited to see playing out right now. For now, let's go to a slightly lower time frame so we can actually find something. Yeah, we got some pretty good setups coming in. Yeah, a little push above the zone. Yeah, is interesting to me. Maybe we can get a little squeeze above the range higher, about 13.6K Bitcoin at that wick extremity, right? That's that point there. That's a calculation of the liquidity at that level and the volume that was built up in that zone. So we're looking for a little squeeze out of this potential retracement back into this zone right here. Okay, this little area right here, maybe a little fair value gap retracement as well, and then we'll look to push this towards the $59,500. Guys, sometimes we're going to do the streams and we're going to see forward-looking trades. It's up to you guys to execute those, obviously, because the stream can't go on for like 4 hours waiting for those positions. But sometimes the perfect trade setup won't be available during the show. I will take it after the show so, the account grows. But I also got in like preemptively explain how that setup's going to work so you guys know what to do should you be trading after the show. So we're looking for that squeeze there. This currently looks like a little bit of market open volatility, right? So the market's kind of fucking around a little bit. We're seeing a little squeeze into the range high. We saw it on Solana. We're seeing it on Bitcoin right now. Hopefully we can get a little structural break of that retracement into this point and then look for that next push towards the upside there. Pretty standard trade, looking just for a 1% return there. 1% return also is adjusted to our risk as well. So we'll also be maintaining a sub 1% risk, and then we'll scale up our account size accordingly. As Bitcoin's a less volatile play, we understand the strategy and what it is we're trying to accomplish with the strategy. We'll increase the leverage incrementally, or actually just increase the position size overall. We're playing with $100, so we might just spend more time on the leverage side of things, but controlled risk. We can't get liquidated due to the low volatility, and obviously setting that firm stop loss and really paying a lot of attention to that to make sure that the trade's actually worth it in the first place, right? If we're targeting this upside here of about 0.93, let's just say in an ideal world, 0.93, maybe a little bit higher to 1%, we don't want the stop loss to be 1% as well, right? If the invalidation is below this point here, let's say we get a good entry there, it's about 0.5, then we're looking at a 2-to-1 risk to reward trade, which kind of fits perfectly into that space. But if the risk is significantly lower, so let's just say based on the chart formation, we decide to put the risk below there, on a 1-to-1 basis, that trading strategy doesn't really make sense because we can't repeat it confidently, right? If we win one trade, we want that one trade to buy us room to fail 3 trades or fail 2 trades in a row and still reach break even, right? With that and a relatively decent win rate, let's just say we focus on a 3-to-1, with a relatively decent win rate, we can consistently grow the account up over the next couple of days and next couple of weeks, right? Those of you guys who are new here, I've seen the viewership is going up now. Make sure to subscribe. And live shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, market open, US 9:15 EST, 15 minutes prior to market open. We do some live trading. We look for some opportunities here. Obviously, now this market open, Bitcoin's looking a little bit bullish. We're going to see what's happening on that front. For now, let's go over to the banter bubbles. I should actually build a bubbles thing into this viewer as well so we can quickly toggle between. Today, a little bit of excitement on the Solana side of things. Of course, we're looking at Solana up 5%, Jupiter, the big DEX on Solana up 17%. Morpho Solana, right? No, it's actually, okay, obviously it's going to be cross-chain, but it's Ethereum based. Okay, I actually thought that was Solana. I haven't actually looked at a lot of these projects in a long time. Meme Core up 15%. Yeah, it's kind of like a all over the place type of market, right? Yesterday you had a lot of volatility. Bitcoin lost $58,000 for the first time. So we're expecting to see a little bit of a recovery going into today. But for the most part, kind of those major caps are lasting or, loading at about the 1% mark, right? So nothing too significant. Bitcoin now breaking above that zone, which is great. A lot of volume coming in here. Let's pull up our aggregated volume indicator here. One thing that's nice to look at, guys, if you are big users of volume, if you're not, you better start being. We want to see these moves backed by volume. Okay, very, very simple strategy. We want to see during an uptrend like that, when we have this green growth in the chart, we want to see a similarly bullish volume growth. Okay, so if we have our chart in an uptrend and our volume in an uptrend, that suggests that the market is supported by bullish momentum, right? Very, very simple. We want to see this growing with the chart. Now Bitcoin looking to push up quite significantly higher. We'll now wait for this retracement back into this zone. Now, a lot of people may be wondering why this zone and not the POC, which is slightly lower in this lower region here. We'll save some capital for that point in time. I think it will likely get taken out. But when we're looking from a comparative basis, we're not going to be too much of a stickler here, right? Because these two ranges here, this being the first order block zone right there, we also have a, slightly off POC by a couple of fractions of Bitcoin. This would have been the POC in general, right? So that's just a differential take over there. You're looking at this level as well in the same light, as this one right here, due to the similarities in volume being traded at those prices, right? We'll save some capital for this lower point over here, but in general, we're looking for this zone here, this fair value point here, and then potentially dragging slightly lower into this point here, right? We'll evaluate based on a chart's formation over the next couple of minutes. What's happening? Arvine says it's good to hear your voice again. Well, it's good to be part of the community again, right? We took a really, really long time, a little break off trading in general. So I'm very, very excited about being back. I'm very excited about building my own thing. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Previously I did technically have my own thing, but it wasn't my own thing, if that makes sense. And now we have the environment and the space to do that, which is very, very exciting, right? Complete freedom, talk about whatever you want, insult whoever you want. You don't represent a larger brand, right? It's really a free fall. We're gonna get into some shit, hopefully. Let's see what do we have here. Ethereum on an hourly basis looking pretty good. I'd like to see the sweep of this high here on the hourly as well. A lot of momentum coming here on the lower time frame. Let's see if we see anything on the minute. Nothing too much. I guess from a minute perspective, a lot of volume also being traded at this point here. We can start to dip our toes in around $59,000 specifically, tying in a little bit of an order book here. Let's see what we have. Right around that, so nothing too stacked. This is also an aggregated order book, so we'll see it a little bit lower down here when the bids start to pick up again. We do have a bit of a sell wall coming in here, and I've generally found these sell walls coming in from Binance, right? As I've been trading on a more personal basis, which is a little bit more complicated strategies, I've been noticing a lot of these sell walls coming on Binance specifically, and I would take the assumption that that's due to the whole Mica thing. Right, Binance is leaving the EU alongside a lot of other exchanges, but Binance seems to be where that comes from. Because one of my systems not on here allows me to filter by exchange, and every time I filter by exchange, it's Binance with these big sell wars higher. These ones are pretty light at about 200 Bitcoin, which is not too significant. But for the most part, I mean, I've seen it go out to like 2,000 Bitcoin, which is quite heavy, right? Yo, what's happening? Testament. Bitcoin is taking off. It looks a little bit good on this side. Josh, what break of structure works best on TradingView, in your opinion? I don't know what you mean by break of structure works best on TradingView. I don't know if you're referring to that from an indicator perspective or just a regular price perspective. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your question completely, so maybe you can just elaborate for me, then I can help you out. If you're talking about an indicator, I like the liquidity swings indicator for identifying that break of structure, but there's so much, right? 100x Club talks a lot about market structure breaks. There's huge indicators for market structure breaks as well. We also had one in our original Crypto Legends terminal. Feel free to still use that. It is up. Whilst it's up, use it. But there's a lot of indicators here as well, right? There was a market structure shift right there, coming, retracing down 50%, whatnot, moved up 1.35, right? Amazing indicator. Sometimes a little bit tricky to get perfect, right? Here was another example, retrace there, continuation towards the downside. But all in all, there are many indicators for it. On TradingView, I like this MSB with the order blocks, right? The order blocks just kind of attaches that liquidity point to it. Which is why this is such a strong point right here. Okay, let's see what's going on in the charts here. Bitcoin holding up. Yeah, it's pushing. Pushing quite aggressively into this next point here. If we do break a structure right there, we might have to increase the time horizon here on these pullbacks, right? We may be looking at a slightly different system. Let's go to 30 minutes. And we might be looking, we might actually just be looking at this full break of the $49,500 level and retracement to this lower point of here. We'd like to find some support at that because it's quite exceptionally risky. Even regardless of anything, guys, what we're creating here is a little inefficiency in the market. Okay, I'll keep it as simple as possible. Inefficiency candles are where these big breakup structures coming to the market, creating massive gaps in liquidity. Okay, so this little factor here, it's a fair value gap, but it's also a inefficiency candle, right? So this structure here, in most cases, needs to be filled, right? And not in most cases, but yeah, I would actually argue in most cases, by far in most cases, right? Very similar structure to a CME gap, where there's a gap of structure in the market, a gap of liquidity in the market. We look for these candles to inevitably be refilled. And for us on this higher time frame perspective, and I say higher relative to what it is we're trading, we're looking for the retracement into this high point here, this very, very dense point of about 58.6. Bitcoin now pushing above 59.5. Hopefully we see this little breaker structure here. It is a heavy zone for Bitcoin in general. As you guys can see here, it has been a heavy point of rejection 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And that's actually just the inverse of the strategy, right? Where we have this little market structure break there and retrace into this point over here, right? In both cases, there had been the previous heavy rejection here. So it is a strong point for Bitcoin. I think we'll likely see the retracement a little bit early. Then on a lower time frame, we'll look to break and push towards these higher zones here as the first target, then retrace back in there. We'll do a little short-term take profit, retrace back into this lower point here of about 58.6, use the profit earned for a risk capital, and look to start targeting these higher regions here. I think if the momentum continues, Bitcoin could easily push up into the next heavy level of about 95,000 Bitcoin. That's roughly looking at about $60,800. In the last show, someone asked me if we're going to trade stocks. We are, right? It's just about finding a good broker. It's about finding a good partner in it as well. Stocks is not something I've traded in a very, very long time. That's going back to pure price action fundamentals. I actually got my start trading Forex and then moving into stocks and then inevitably moving into crypto due to the 24/7 hour nature of it. Just basically how that aligned with my schedule at the time, trading from 3 p.m. right? So market open on stocks was just too much, right? If I was waking up at 9 looking to trade, that's where the big motivation came for crypto alongside 2021's bull market cycle. For now, we'll stick around for crypto. We'll try get some momentum on the charts, but I do want to push this brand a little bit further into the stock region. I think that, that's why we didn't call it like crypto is dumb or anything like that. It's charts are dumb, so we can branch out, not just stocks, but we want to trade some commodities. Hyperliquid luckily supports that, so we can do that here. It supports gold, which apparently, according to one of the chat members, is running today. Yeah, a nice little push up on gold as well. Lower time frame, but a little bit of momentum coming in on that front. I really should be focused more on the news side of things. I don't know if anything's driving up that price right now. I heard not too long ago they were talking about doing an audit. I don't know if that's got any correlation to it. Let's see what crude oil. Nothing really. Who owns Crypto Legends Terminal now? Is it still possible to trade there? Crypto Legends Terminal is owned by Banter, and the last discussion I had was I currently don't work at the company anymore, or I left the company. So they own that IP, and I think that the last time I discussed it with him, he said leave it live for the guys who are trading on it, don't take it down. So I think that's pretty awesome. And then that code base was shared with another host on the team who's building some product with it as well. So in some way or form, that technology lives on, which I'm happy with. I spent a lot of time building it, so I'm happy it's not just getting thrown out and it's still active. So how long it's going to be active for, I don't have control of that anymore. Is the market cipher B indicator worth a $2,000 price? Not a chance. You don't need it, right? So you don't need to pay for any single thing to find success in crypto. And 90% of the time, paying for something in crypto or trading in general is what ends up costing. I mean, stupid to say what ends up costing you, but actually what ends up slowing you down as far as trading goes, right? A lot of people think like, oh, if I do prop trading, that's going to be the secret to getting. It's bullshit, right? I hate to tear something like that down, but just from that perspective, there's no shortcut, right? There's no one indicator that really changes your outcome, right? Everything is free, everything is creatable. I'll look. How about this? I'll look into the market cipher B indicator, which I haven't looked into in years. It's not going to be on TradingView, is it? Someone has to have open sourced it already. Whatever. I'll look into it. I'll see if I can bold it and I'll send it to you. It's monthly open as well. Yeah, that's a really good point. Good catch. We're just trying to see if Bitcoin can break the structure here because that will validate a big part of the moves. We will try to feed into this gap towards 58.7 before we get a nice little move up here towards 60.73. So even if it doesn't happen on stream, just follow alongside the strategy, watch back on the show because I have discussed it a few times. That's what I'll be looking for personally on the higher time frame. Lower time frame where we ought to be focused. 5 minutes pushing into this level here. That's a pretty deep retracement here. So I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. Bitcoin, let's see. I actually haven't even looked at the stock market yet. How are we doing on this front? Stock market's kind of flatlined, right? Nothing too exciting happening here. 15 minutes. Okay, a little bit of retracement. Bounce on this zone. I mean, nothing too exciting happening on that front. It's really just this gold move. Silver, obviously, proxied alongside it. I think that, maybe Bitcoin's just moving as that store of value. Crypto's just following suit, right? Bitcoin's basically the proxy for the rest of the market. So it's just kind of like this domino effect across it. I have the Pine script. I have the Pine script for it or close to it. Can I send it to you? Yeah, send it to me. You guys can send me DMs as much as you want on Twitter. Fine. My Telegram, you can also message me on if you have any questions or any strategy questions. I'm not going to sell you anything. Don't bother asking me to teach you one-on-one trading. Just ask me, right? Just ask the question and we'll get through it together. Hopefully you'll learn something, but you can message me on Telegram at Josh the Trader. Right? Send me a DM. Ask your questions, send me your charts if you don't have Twitter Premium, because apparently you need to have Twitter Premium to actually send messages to people, which is ridiculous. But yeah, if you don't have that, make sure you just message me on Telegram. Should be fine. But send me your Binance trend. Let me look through it and I'll see if I can, I need to catch myself back up on that indicator in general. I don't even remember what it does. Johnny Gummy says that was indicator perspective. I use the terminal every day along with a stop loss, right? Yeah, I think my point is more along with stop loss. Oh, stop loss, yeah, is always active on the thing. It's such an awesome product. Eventually, right? Probably next year we'll build something way better than this. But it's a really, really awesome project, right? Very, very exciting. I think that this project can really help you. Most people in general will find a lot of value to this project. That's why it was built, and I think that's why it still has such a sticky audience, even though I stopped. But basically, what it allows you to do is kind of build out these little modules, right? The idea is not to sell you some bullshit, right? It's really just to show you where the market's moving, right? So if I see, okay, a whole bunch of shorts are being liquidated on M token, which is meme core, I can click on it and identify this little squeeze in the market and find a little opportunity there if there is one, right? And there's a lot of volatility there relative to the rest of the market. And there's all these little modules there, RSI heat maps, which show me exactly which tokens are oversold right now. You can see CRW dumped, I can disable a lot of these other ones here. It's really, really cool. We'll build something even cooler one day. But yeah, I think that was such a fantastic. I thought that was such a fantastic little platform. It is what it is. Yeah. Now we're going to try fill out this liquidity gap here. Hopefully we can get a decent size retracement into this zone. 58.8 is where we're looking, right? It's a little 500 retracement. We have a few liquidity gaps throughout. Lower time frame, it's split into these two levels here. So we're looking at this point there, and we're looking at this point over, this point over here, right? So we're looking at a few of these levels here. We can actually drag it down slightly. So we're looking at these zones here to start building out that position. I'm interested to see how this plays out. Extremely, extremely volatile. We have good momentum behind the chart, guys. I'm going to share a diagram with you guys. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to open it up on the stream so you can reference back to the stream, or you can take a screenshot. This is such an important strategy, guys. It's one of the most important strategies in my trading career, and it can be one of the most important strategies in your career as well. But this is what's known as the momentum indicator, and it's simple. It's simply using price and volume for live live data, basically, right? What's the you get like RSI, which is it's known as a delayed indicator. I always forget this like little fucking trader terminology, but you can even see back in 2022, about 4.5 years ago, I said, I love this. Thank you so much, right? That was my comment on this. I had known it before, but when he kind of put it into this perspective, it was actually really awesome. This was originally from Emperor BTC, but a very, very simple strategy. If the price is going up and the volume is going up behind it, that means that it's supported by volume. Look for entries. If the price is going up, but the volume's decreasing, obviously study that, look back on it, read it over and over and over. It's one of the most important indicators that served me in my trading. But right here, effectively, what we're looking at is the volume increasing during this uptrend, right? Which means more and more people are buying Bitcoin or trading Bitcoin long as the market moves towards the upside, right? People aren't building, so people aren't selling as aggressively going into the upside as it is being bought up, right? The volume is high and the price is going up, which means that generally speaking, that volume is more bullish. Looking for the retracement into this little purple 2 zones over here. Ideally, right, we'll kind of validate a little bit later, but ideally we kind of can build the entry into these zones here and kind of put that stop below 58.2, especially if we're driving up for the $60.4 thousand region. Looking at it from a slightly higher time frame, we want to break the up structure, retrace into these lower points here, and look for something a little bit higher time frame here, looking at about a 1% risk, targeting towards a 3%. So 3.19 risk to reward. That's basically what we're looking to trade there. You can actually look at this from an hourly perspective as well. We're looking for this push up here. We're looking to basically fill 50% of the volumetric candle, which is a completely separate strategy, which I won't bore you with today. But when we do get these massive inefficiency volumetric bull candles, we generally start to look for those 50% retracements into those candles, right? It's a very different strategy than you're maybe used to, but that's a whole strategy in there as well. When we get these huge volumetric candles, engulfing the vast majority of this move, we look for the 50% retracement to the body. In this case, it does tend to fall in a little bit of a support zone here, as you guys can see from previous iterations. That's where we'll be looking to get our first entry at about $59,000. Second entry, hopefully at about 58.5, 58.7. Tight stop loss, we'll be looking to put it around 58, just under 58, and then looking to grind it up with the chart at the same time. Okay, but you can DM me on Telegram if you can't DM me on Twitter. I'm hoping we can take something before the show ends, but we should wrap up fairly soon. I'm trying to keep the shows at like 45 minutes. Let's see what we can find. Strategy is not tying in here very nicely. It's going to be very important for us to, Solana as well. 74.2 is where we'd be looking at. It's a huge cluster on this side, massive order block. That's where we'd be looking at for the retracement zone for Solana if you're looking for that trade as well. It's going to be very valuable to kind of tie in the Telegram group. Guys, if you're not following on the Instagram, just make sure you go to instagram.com/chartsardumb tomorrow or the next day. Probably tomorrow, we're going to be looking at posting some of our shorts here completely my analysis, but it's going to be just educational pieces done by this little AI character here in my own voice, which would be really cool. So if you want to follow that, make sure you do. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel, guys. Let's push this thing. Let's get it up to where we need to get it. 200 first target, then 500. As I said, all the money that we make, all the trades I take, even if they end up being off stream, we're going to donate to the community. I don't want to use the word donate. We're going to give it away to the community as a thank you to the OG guys. So make sure you're dropping in the comments below. You're saying, yo, what's up, Josh? OG over here, whatever you need to say. And in that way, we can, when I look back, when we reach the 200 mark, when we reach the 500 mark, I can really award those guys who have been around for that period of time. Anything below the certain target, right? If it's 200, the first 200 subscribers, 500, the first 500 subscribers, right? You can win twice. Let's see. Yeah, Solana, we're looking for that retracement. A little bit too bullish of an opening. I'm considering, just based on the last two streams, last stream we did take a good trade. Just based on the last two streams, I'm considering moving the show up 1 hour. Let me know what you guys think about that. It lets the market, the first 30 minutes of the market open, go through. We basically had just started the show now. And maybe we can find, trades that way. But you guys let me know. These are the two targets that we're looking for here. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the comments or whatever. If I'm awake, I'll let you guys know if I'm entering. But these are the two zones at that we're looking for that entry on retracement. And then we're going to be looking for a little squeeze up to $60,000, 400. That should fall, or if it works out, that should happen within a very, 12-hour span of time. So by the time we do our next show, the account should be up and we should be good to go. Josh, you have that new TG. I'm going to create a new Telegram group, right? So not right now, probably next week, the week after that, we're going to start our own Telegram group where we can continue, start to rebuild and do show announcements and, maybe some private videos and stuff in there, completely free. I want to highlight that. Obviously, everything's going to be completely free. But we'll start to kick that off thing. It's going to really help us with regards to, dropping a trade for you guys and really like helping you build the trade or the account offline as well. The shows are probably for the most part just based on timing, going to be like 60% of the time or 60% of the time being trading, 70% of the time being trading, 30% of the time being a little bit flatline and more on the educational side of things. But we'll get to it. I quickly want to run through one thing before we do wrap up. Maybe something happens during that period, but very, very simply, I did drop a post yesterday about how to use the zigzag indicator. But I want to keep it as simple as possible and as quick and rushed as possible. Effectively, your zigzag pattern allows you to identify the highs and lows in the market. So I obviously have a custom one here. And as you guys can see, it is available on TradingView as well. So you can identify these highs and lows in these moves. And then what you're doing is you're studying the preceding moves prior to the highs. Okay. So when we have these big pushes up here of, as you can see, 1%, that's our threshold here. I can set up that threshold right there. I can go, as you can see, it highlights every move above 0.5, but we'll set this to 0.99, right? So we'll see this level here highlighted as what we're targeting. And then we basically go in and study these preceding price action structures here prior to the move towards the upside, right? So this is a very simple deviation play. And we're basically starting to build in indicators, kind of, tie in whatever we need to do. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes a little bit of studying, but we basically start to study these formations here and address how we can get these consistently, right? How we can find these entries here. And then what you do is you'll notice one time that these indicators kind of line up and they play well together. And then what you'll do is you'll try look back in the charts or you'll back test it and go and see, okay, cool. If these two indicators touch or they connect or they add confluence to one another like this, how many times can I find that historically happen? And that's how you basically find out these indicators. So for me, these strategies. For me, I tied in the volume profile and the liquidity sweeps, and that allowed me to see that after liquidity sweep, retracement into the volume POC was where there was a massive execution point. So I'll dive into this a lot more. I'm sorry, I do have to rush it out because I did keep the show way too long, but we'll spend some time doing that. This is the general arching idea. We identify the big moves and then study the preceding moves prior individually, right? We analyze this chart here. We look at the structures, we tie in whatever indicators we want to, and we kind of find out what's happening to the market prior to these moves towards the upside here, right? Or prior to these moves towards the downside. And then once we find something here, we look back and we try to see if we can see it correlate again, and then we build strategies out of that. Okay, sounds very basic. Anybody who's a pro bot trader, someone that develops bots like David Tech or someone of that, I will say, oh, Josh, this is so dumb. Don't listen to this. Be that as it may, I found a lot of success in it so far, and I'm actually really, really enjoying doing it. There's strategies from it, and it's doing really well. Now, unfortunately, I can never sell bots, right? It's not something I ever want to do. I never want to do something that automates your trading for you. It's something that works for me right now, right? It's a little edge in the game. It's not big account. It's generating, whatever it is, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's generating a couple $100 a day. Passively, it's working. It's starting to yield some returns on that. And we'll see what happens over a long enough period of time, but it is working, and I'm just showing you how to do it, right? I'm not going to fish for you, but I will show you guys everything on how to do it, like all the little nuggets. Anyway, guys, much love to you guys. Thank you so much for joining here. You know the strategies. Watch back the show if you forgot something or you missed out on something. I appreciate you guys joining. Ghost Rider Sharma says, I've been following you since 3 years. Followed your channel on Twitter, then followed your analysis group as well. It's great to see you, man. Let's build something very good together. I appreciate you saying that so much, and I appreciate your dedication to the community. Yeah, we got big things coming, guys. Let us start small. Let us slowly grind up. I promise you it'll be worth the time and effort put in, and the hours that you spend watching. Much love, guys. Stay safe.